guys, my name is Smeaf. I'm a 3D artist with over 4 years experience creating, and in this video I'm going to show you exactly how to create an amazing product render like this one on screen. This video is actually one of the lessons pulled from my SkillShare class, Product Rendering Masterclass. If you like what you see here and want to learn the full process of modeling, texturing, animating, and all of that good stuff, I've made this class free for the first 100 people using the link below. For everyone else, you can click on the link in the description to get your first month of SkillShare for free and cancel anytime after that. Alright, now before we get started, I've made this project file free to download from my Gumroad so that you can jump straight into the product animation side of things and follow along with me. The link is in the description.
Smeaf sculpts.
Okay, so let's jump into creating this thing. First we need to set up the scene lights. Now the HDRI that's included in this scene is pretty good, but adding a few studio lights is going to elevate this scene to the next level. So I'm just going to come in here, press Shift and A to grab a light. We're going to go with area light. I'm just going to bring that up above the can, and we're going to give it a power of 300 to start off with. That's looking pretty good there. Then from here I'm just going to hit Shift D, right click to leave it in place, and now I'm just going to move it off to the side here. Press Shift and T to aim the light at the can with your cursor, and that's already looking pretty good, but I'm just going to largen the light here and also increase its level to 500. And then lastly I'm just going to Shift D this light, bring it across the way, Shift T, point it at the can and increase it just a bit more, make it fairly big, and then also increase the power to 800. There we go. It's looking pretty good. Now I can see in the background of the can here it's fairly dark and it's giving it a very bold sort of look. I kind of want to give it a little bit more of a lighter tone on the backdrop. So I'm going to hit Shift A, light. I'm going to select point light. I'm just going to bring that behind it near the backdrop. I'm going to go over to its power, increase it to 100, and also I'm going to increase the radius here about 1 meter, and I'm just going to play with the level until it lights it up how I like it. So it looks like 800 is good. Immediately that's looking way better. Alright, so now that the scene lighting is all set up, let's actually get into animating this thing. So first off, I want to create the camera animation. So to start with, I'm going to start on frame 0, I'm going to make sure the camera is selected, and the easiest way I've found to do this is you can hit this little button down here on the timeline, and that's going to enable auto keying. So whatever I do right now, it's going to create a keyframe down here, and that's basically recorded the movement. So what I'm going to do is create that introductory shot, which is essentially a close-up shot of the Red Bull can. We're basically going to make the camera zoom out and rotate 360 degrees. So what I'll do here is go 2 seconds, as this is a 24 frames per second shot. We're going to come to the counter here. You can do 24 times 2. That'll move your timeline to frame 48 for you. And from here, I'm just going to push the camera back to a position where I like it. So here seems pretty good. And now we just need to put in the rotation keys. So on your keyboard, you can switch between keyframes quite quickly just by pressing down and up. You'll basically switch between the last keyframe and the first keyframe. So if we go to the first keyframe, we can hit R and click, and that'll create a keyframe on frame 0. The easiest way I've found to animate the rotation is just to come over to the object properties and just change the rotation manually here, like that. So now we can just type in 360, and you won't see anything changing here, but as you scrub through the timeline, you can clearly see we've got that animation in place now. Pretty sweet. So now let's go to the can here. I'm just going to zoom in on it with the period key on my numpad, and now we can actually create an empty object to control the can. This will come in handy much later when we get into more complex shots. So let's go Shift A, we'll come to the empties tab, and we're just going to create a cube. So immediately the cube's pretty big, so I'm just going to scale it down to size and make it just fit the dimensions of the can. Now basically what we're going to do is this is going to control the can. So all we need to do to make this happen is select the can, Shift select the empty, and then if you hit Control P on your keyboard, you can set the empty as the parent of that object. So now when I move this around, the can's going to move with it as well, which is pretty cool. So immediately that's actually already made a keyframe, so I'm just going to select that and delete it, and I'm just going to go back to the frame 0 on our timeline, and start animating this thing. So let's just create a keyframe here. I'm going to go to frame 48 and I'm just going to move it forward slightly like that. So it's basically just slowly moving forward. The real dynamic part of this shot is we're actually going to have 3 of these cans, and the other 2 cans are going to sort of fly out from the back of it and do a little spin. So to do that, all we really need to do is select the can and the empty, and we're just going to Shift D to duplicate it. I'm going to right click and I'm just going to delete the keyframe at frame 48. That way it doesn't have any keyframe data and we can make a different animation for it. So now that we've got this static can, I'm actually going to make another copy of it for that second can, and now we can start animating. So for this can, I'm going to go to top view by pressing 7 on the numpad. I'm just going to select this empty from the outliner here, and I'm just going to move it manually like this. So what I'm doing is pressing G and then holding in my middle mouse button, or you can just press Y and that's going to move it out like that. To make sure it's symmetrical, you can hold down the control on your keyboard and it's going to move it more precisely. So right now I've moved it 0.5 meters, as you can see up the top left. That seems pretty good, so I'm going to leave it there. And then I'm just going to move it back also 0.5 meters. And now we're basically just going to do the same thing, but with the opposite side. So G, Y, hold down control, I'm going to move that out 0.5 in the negative, and then on the x-axis I'm going to move that 0.5 as well. So now we need to make the rotation animation for these 2 cans. So what we can do here is we can go back to frame 1, press R to input the rotation keyframe, come back to frame 48, press R again, and just find the rotation that you want it to be on, which is the z-axis. So what I'm going to do is press RZ 360. Now for the other can, I'm just selecting that empty. I'm going to press RZ, and then on the numpad I'm going to type in -360. So now it's doing the opposite rotation of the other can, and now we've got a pretty dynamic shot to start off the product ad that we're creating. You can see it's kind of static and it stops really jarringly. This is due to the way that we've set up the keyframes and its interpolation. So right now it's set to linear, so it's going to be basically linear. It's going to go from one point to the other. It's going to start and stop. There's going to be no easing, no curves. So what we can do to fix that is if we just hit A and select everything in the scene, we can simply just highlight these 2 keyframes here. You can press T on the keyboard and hit on Bezier. You'll see immediately it's got a little bit of easing in and easing out, and it's much more pleasant to look at already. But we can definitely improve on that. So what you can do is come over here to the graph editor. Another quick and easy way to do that is you can hit Shift and F6, and that'll quickly switch you to the graph editor. So now what I want to do is select each one of these empties. So you can either box select them or you can just select them up here in the outliner. If we just hit A in the graph editor and hit the period key on our numpad, that's going to shrink everything down and make it much more easier to use. So you can see right now it's very linear. There's not too much easing in and out. There is a little bit, but we can make it better. So what I like to do is select everything with A, come up here to the pivot point, and if we hit on individual centers, we can now scale relative to the center of the keyframe. And that's pretty powerful, so we can basically hit S to scale. I'm going to scale on the Z axis, so S and then Z, and we can just start scaling it in and really crunching that curve, you can see. So I'm going to do it pretty aggressively here to about that. And when I hit play, it's going to look much different. So immediately, that's looking much better for the cans. It may be a little bit too aggressive, so I might just squish that out a little bit. There we go, that's much better. But immediately I'm noticing it doesn't quite match up with the camera. So if we come over here and select the camera, come down to the camera's keyframes here, and we're just going to do the same thing. So scale on the Z-axis, crunch that curve in, and now we've got a pretty sweet animation. Alright, so we've got the empties and products animating as we'd like them to, but we can actually make this look a lot nicer with the camera settings. So if we come over here to the render properties, we're rendering with the Eevee render engine. You can choose to render with the Cycles engine if you like, but I know that some people don't have access to that with their GPUs, and it can be really intensive on their PCs. So for this tutorial, we're just going to go with the Eevee renderer, and what we want to do is enable ambient occlusion, bloom, screen space reflections, and of course motion blur. And immediately that's just elevated the shot 10 times over. But we're not finished yet. We can come down here to the color management section, and you'll see we have a look. So right now it's set to none, but if we hit high contrast, that'll make the overall image stand out even more. If you don't like that look, you can just leave it on none, or you can even play with any of these ones here and see which one suits you best. Alright, so now that that's all out of the way, there are still a few little techniques that we can do to really make this final render of our project here really stand out. So let's do a test render now by hitting F12, and already that's looking pretty awesome. So if we come over to the Compositing workspace and hit Use Nodes, a few nodes should pop up for you. What we really need is to add in a couple key nodes that'll really make this image stand out. So if you hit Shift A, type in Viewer Node, just place that down there. And if you have Node Wrangler enabled, you can just drag the image over here with Alt and right click into the viewer. And now we can actually see what we're working with. Basically, just to give this a little bit more realism, we want to add in chromatic aberration. So easiest way to do that is hitting Shift A and typing in lens distortion. Just slot that in there. And what this does is, if you play with the dispersion, we're getting chromatic aberration around the object. We obviously don't want this much because it's super unrealistic. So I tend to usually just do 0.05. Gives you just the right amount of chromatic aberration to really sell you that this is a real product. So before we finish this off, we have to connect this to the composite node, otherwise it won't actually do anything that we've just done. So I'm just going to drag that in there. If you want to get fancy, you can add in some glare nodes. You can go as crazy as you want with this, something like that, but I find that's just a little too stylistic for me. So I'm just going to stick with this. So now that that's done, we can actually render this out now. I usually render my scenes out as an image sequence, just in case Blender crashes. That way you can load it back up and continue from the frame it crashed on. But if you want to risk it all, you can also render it out as an MP4 right here in Blender. So to render this out properly, we're just going to go over to the Output Properties tab, ensure that we've got the correct resolution, make sure that this is at 100%, and come down to your Output folder. Make sure it's in an accessible folder for you, and then simply hit Ctrl F12. If you're still new to Blender and you want a full crash course, I recommend checking out this playlist. Thanks so much for watching.